All Indiana Politics
is your premier source for Indiana politics, focusing on issues that matter to you.
I still want us to be the best in the Midwest.
We can't afford another lockdown.
Give the citizens of this country the relief they need.
Education in the state of Indiana remains priority number one.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage.
We don't know exactly where the economy will be in January.
People are worried with good reason.
Exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders.
We have the resources here in the state of Indiana to care for those who are in need.
Expert analysis on critical legislation.
We need to reform those laws.
This recovery is going to take some time.
We've got to anticipate that there'll be a budget shortfall.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome to another edition of All Indiana Politics. I'm Phil Sanchez. The 2024 election is now entering the home stretch. Vice President Kamala Harris officially accepted the Democratic nomination for president on Thursday night. Harris leaned heavily into her time as a prosecutor in her acceptance speech. She also spoke of the need for strong alliances overseas and economic fairness at home. Harris told supporters the nation cannot afford to put Donald Trump back in office.
Our nation with this election has a precious, fleeting opportunity to move past the bitterness, cynicism, and divisive battles of the past, a chance to chart a new way forward. Not as members of any one party or faction, but as Americans.
Harris also relied heavily on her own life story in her speech. She talked at length about growing up in a working class neighborhood in the Bay Area and the lessons she learned there. Indiana sent 88 delegates to the Democratic National Convention. Our government reporter Garrett Berquist talked to one who attended for the very first time.
Let's bring in Connor Elliott. He was one of Indiana's 88 delegates to the Democratic National Convention. Connor, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So describe the atmosphere on the convention floor over the past 4 days.
I'd say it's been one of the most energetic places I have ever been as a 19-year-old delegate. I don't get many opportunities to go to places like this and see such an energetic atmosphere. I attended an Axios House event 2 days ago, and David, Obama's former 2008 campaign manager, described it to a similar atmosphere as 2008 when Obama was running for president. So it is one of the most energetic places I've ever seen, and it's just really exciting.
What are some things from Vice President Harris's speech on Thursday night that really stood out to you?
One of the big ones was gun violence. Being from a generation where there is a large amount of school shootings happening all across the nation. Parkland in 2018, Uvalde just a few years ago. That really sticks close to me. I grew up going through school shooting drills and, finding ways that you have to hide and, duck and just try to, survive. And that isn't the way that kids my age should be living, right? And so when she talked about, the things that we need to be doing, universal background checks, red flag laws, an assault weapons ban, that's what we need to be doing. And it just really stuck out to me. It was really close to me, especially earlier in the programming when they brought out survivors or close relatives of individuals who went through school shootings. It brought a few tears to my eyes.
How would you describe the attitude toward Harris, both of the delegates at this convention and of voters you've talked to over the past month or so who did not attend the convention? Among us delegates,
I say we're really, really excited to see Kamala Harris become our presidential nominee. It's the passing of the torch to a new generation. And I think that's something that's always exciting within the Democratic Party. And we're really looking forward to it. But also outside of the convention, as I said, I'm one of the youngest delegates within the delegation. And I'm currently in college. And so I have many friends who either are somewhat politically active or apolitical in a way. And the day that President Biden dropped out, I got many texts of individuals just being like, hey, I was not interested in this election at all. I was really turned off. But the moment that I saw Kamala Harris step in, it just ignited a new passion within them. It's something new. It's something fresh. And she's really been talking about things that, people in my generation care about. Affordable housing, gun violence prevention legislation, and just trying to bring an economy that works for us rather than for the wealthy.
Did President Biden make the right call in dropping out of the race and endorsing Harris?
I think President Biden made the call that made most sense to him. I believe that he looked at the polls and that he looked at all the situation around him and made the call that was correct according to him. Either way, if President Biden had stuck or if President Biden had dropped out, I would have stuck with him all the way. But I think it is one of the most selfless calls that any politician can make in American politics. Being the leader of the free world and leader of this country and freely and willingly drop out is something that anyone should admire within this nation and in our history, especially since the other side of the aisle is nominating someone who hasn't exactly presented themselves in a way that is selfless.
Vice presidential nominee Tim Walz spoke on Wednesday night. What did you make of his speech?
I think it was exciting. It reminds me of my own father and a lot of other fathers around me that I grew up around. I was texting a friend and I compared him to a girl dad. And it was just something that was really interesting to see on a national stage at that level. He really presents himself as being comfortable in his own skin. And that's not something that I think you see as common within American politics, especially on a national stage such as the vice presidential position. So it's really exciting to see something that authentic. And I think he's a wonderful partner to Vice President Kamala Harris. I think they would make a great duo within the White House.
What's one thing that went on behind the scenes at the convention that you wish people back home could have seen?
I wish that people could have seen the energy on the floor. I had the opportunity as being a delegate to actually walk onto the convention floor, so the big main area near the stage. And just to have that opportunity to take it all in and be around people from all across the United States, from Alaska to Michigan nearby, Florida, Arizona, New Mexico was right by us, near where our delegation was sitting. And just to be able to sit there and take that in, I think that's something that I wish a lot more Americans would be able to see the energy that we had, and to be able to take that and realize that this is a movement that's coming through, and that this is a series of joy that is being brought through our party, but also America.
What do the next couple months look like for you between now and Election Day?
No, absolutely. So I work with the Indiana House Democratic Caucus. And so over the next few months, we are going to be working to get out the vote, make sure that our message is spread to Hoosiers that we need to break the supermajority and end 20 years of strict Republican rule within the state, and just trying to ensure that we can show Hoosiers that there's a different way.
Connor Elliott is a first-time delegate to the Democratic National Convention from Shelbyville, Indiana. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, the state ponies up millions in water infrastructure for a controversial research park. Welcome back. The state will pay millions of dollars to boost the water supply for controversial land development in Boone County. This comes as a new study finds central Indiana needs better water conservation plans. News 8's government reporter Garrett Berquist explains who would pay the bill and where the water would come from.
During a briefing here in Bloomington, IEDC officials told lawmakers the state will put up to $50 million toward the cost of expanding water infrastructure in and around the city of Lebanon and the Leap District. But some lawmakers wonder if that's going to be enough long term.
IEDC officials say Lebanon's current water infrastructure is maxed out.
The initial Eli Lilly commitment and related water demands maximized local utilities capacity, meaning that a new supply of water was going to be required to enable Lebanon to continue to grow.
The water question flows beneath much of the criticism of the LEAP district. That's the high-tech research park under development in Boone County. An IEDC study last year concluded the Wabash River Basin has more than enough water to support the LEAP district. But activists and people who live there say the IEDC's methodology wasn't sound and did not consider future water needs. The IEDC says the state will provide up to $50 million to cover the first couple of years of a planned water bond. The project would deliver 25 million gallons of water per day to the city of Lebanon. Officials say the cost ultimately would fall on new customers within the LEAP district, not existing ones.
Where's this particular water coming from for the phase one?
Phase one will be coming from Citizens Energy System. They have multiple well fields and multiple treatment plants that they are currently engineering to figure out where the optimum way to draw water to deliver to the Lebanon area.
The Indiana Chamber of Commerce this week released a study that found the state has enough water to cover expected future needs. But water is not as abundant in central Indiana as it is in northern or southern Indiana.
The concern, as you well know, Garrett, is that what other projects may not occur within that Lebanon community, that project area, because of the lack of water. And I know there's still water studies going forth.
The Chamber recommends developing a statewide water use plan and having the Indiana Finance Authority conduct all water surveys. Garton and Porter both tell me those are good ideas, though Porter says he'd prefer regional water use plans instead of a single statewide one. Garton says he's satisfied with the IEDC's plans so far, but he wants transparency as the project continues. The Indiana Finance Authority's comprehensive water study is still ongoing. We expect it will be completed by the end of this year. In Bloomington, I'm Garrett Bergquist for Wish TV, wishtv.com, or follow us on Facebook for updates.
Coming up, Indiana's best political team unpacks the Democratic National Convention and looks ahead to November. All right, welcome back to All Indiana Politics as we welcome in two members of Indiana's best political team, Democrat Dana Black and Republican Whitley Yates. Good to see you both. Lots to unpack this week. Let's begin with the Democratic National Convention. Dana, Harris used a lot of the kind of rhetoric that we typically associate with Republicans. She leaned into her experience as a prosecutor. She promised a lethal military. She even used the phrase secure the border. Does this suggest a play for the center?
Yeah, it's a play for the center, but I think it's a play for all Americans. I mean, my goodness, that convention, first of all, I just returned home from Chicago. As you can tell, I don't have a voice because the energy was incredibly high. Everybody was excited and united. That stadium, United Center, was so united that even Republicans came out and talked about why they were supporting Kamala Harris. It is obvious that our country needs to be going in the right direction, and the folks that are faithful to Donald Trump, they're not faithful to the country. And so they were showing endlessly how we as Americans, we have more alike and that bring us together than what actually divides us. And to have so many Republicans who are in the Trump orbit were saying how much they want to be with this team. They may not agree on all the policies, but they recognize there's a difference between supporting a party and supporting our country. So yeah, she may be moving towards the center, but she's also saying that she is going to govern for all Americans, unlike the other guy who will lock up his enemies.
Willie, these are, as you know, historically GOP policy positions. So how do Republicans counter that?
Well, you know, now that the dog and pony show of the proxy presidential candidate is over, now we understand that the Democrats have majored in entertainment. Yes, that's right, entertainment. You saw the celebrities come out, they're singing, they're dancing, but it was void of actual policies, right? Kamala Harris is going to pivot on whatever she needs to. She was voted one of the most liberal and progressive senators, and now she's attempting to be moderate. She wants to, you know, no tax on tips after she was a decisive deciding vote to tax tips in the first place. She's going to pivot on whatever she needs to do to be politically beneficial for her to win. And the truth is, we still don't have any policies for her. But what we did have is vasectomies and abortions happening at the DNC convention. So while they are eradicating their future base, the Republican Party is going to make sure that we're securing the border and not just talking about it when she's currently in a position to do the work right now.
Dana is shaking her head. So, Dana, I'll let you jump in and respond to that.
First of all, the President Trump, when he was president, all he was entertainment. And all he did was screw up our country. All he did was make us a laughing stock around the world. Are you serious right now? She talked about substance. She talked about an economy that works for everybody. She talked about protecting reproductive health care. She talked about protecting the border. She talked about not dissing our troops who give their lives. Are you kidding me right now?
There was a lot of talk, but she's the vice president right now, Dana. She's had 3 years.
She does not write policy right now. She's on the ticket.
Had 3 years to work with Joe Biden to put.
He has been working with infrastructure bill.
So, she's had 3 years to
Science and Chips Act.
Let me just jump in here quickly, Whitley. Republicans are calling, as you did, attention to the lack of policy specifics. But is that wise, given the Democrats' messaging around Project 25?
Absolutely, it's wise. Project 2025 is not associated, affiliated, or assimilated with the Trump campaign. It's been said over and over, and they're using this as a straw man and boogeyman account to get people scared and afraid. The truth of the matter is, for 16 years, 12 of them have been ran by Democrats in the White House. Only 4 has been ran by Trump. So if our economy is bad, it's probably the Democrats' fault. If you can't afford to pay for your own rent, to pay for your groceries, it's probably the Democrats' fault. The truth is that they've been at the helm for 12 years of the 16, and they have not done anything. And what they have done is set us back consistently, lied about job numbers when we emphatically screamed what was happening with our economy. And now all of these chickens are coming home to roost. So she has to speak in platitudes because she doesn't have anything that she can show as a result.
Dana,
are you serious right now? Are you serious?
And also, give me. Go ahead, respond to that. Also, give me a little thought on Project 25. Go ahead.
Absolutely, Project 25. To suggest that Trump has nothing to do with it when J.D. Vance actually wrote the foreword in the Project 2025 is asinine. We ain't crazy. Don't gaslight us. He is your vice presidential candidate. If he wrote the foreword and he is on the ticket with Trump, how can you say that he has nothing to do with Project 2025? Second, it was written and authored by the Heritage and funded by the Heritage Foundation, which is a right-wing think tank. This is a playbook. Why would you write a playbook if you're not going to use it? These folks want to put us back to 1965. And Whitley, you ought to be afraid because they're coming for black and brown people. And the last time I checked, you a sister. So you might want to check that. These folks want to lock us up and send us away and silence us. Project 2025 is real. Project 2025 is their plan. If they could get back in office and Donald Trump will send us back to the Stone Ages, they will make sure that women don't have access to the health care that they need. They will continually defund public education. They actually said they were going to cut down on the cost for veterans. They're going to make sure that they close VAs. Are you serious right now?
Okay.
We're not buying any of this gaslighting anymore. We know that this party, the Republican Party, the one of Donald Trump, wants to destroy America. He wants to be an authoritarian, and they want to take us to a place where we have no choice. He already said this: if you vote for him this time, it's the last time you have to vote.
Whitley, she mentioned your name. Go ahead, respond, and then I just have a couple other things before we say goodbye.
I just think that the Democratic Party right now is using Project 2025 and all these other talking points to really hide and cover up the fact that Joe Biden has been in the White House for 3.5 years and done absolutely nothing. Our economy is in shambles. Inflation is at an all-time high. People can't afford their rent. They can't afford their car note. They cannot afford groceries and to eat. And this is not an inflation of COVID. It's the inflation of right now. And the truth is, these kitchen table topics were not even covered. All right. Our border has been...
I have about a minute left, and I want to get your thoughts on this from both of you. So quickly, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. suspended his presidential campaign on Friday afternoon. He says he's not ending it, though. How does it affect, the Harris and Trump campaigns? Dana, you first.
I don't think it'll affect it at all. He wasn't even on, half the state's ballots, so he wouldn't have won anything. Him dropping out, honestly, is a good thing because it was a clown show anyway. It wasn't legitimate, and I would rather have real politicians and real policymakers running for president. Now, if the Republicans could get one, that would be great.
Yeah. Whitley, does this hurt or help former President Trump, or does it hurt or help Harris?
I think it's hilarious that Dana is saying that it wasn't a real campaign and he wasn't on half the ballots when Kamala Harris was on absolutely none of the ballots.
She was on every ballot
about that. And
she was on every ballot.
When it comes to RFK, she was on 0 ballots, right? When it comes to RFK, when it comes to democracy, and when it comes to him dropping out of the race, he is obviously not supporting the Harris-Walz campaign. He's not supporting the direction that they're going in. Right. So it doesn't matter if he's
good conversation as always. 10%. Ladies, good to see you both. We will talk soon. Thank you very much for joining the show, and we will be right back. All right, thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics this week. We'll be back here next Sunday morning, as always, at 9:30. And be sure to tune in at 11 o'clock for The Hill Sunday with Chris Steyerwalt. Have a great rest of your week.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.